Israel versus Palestine. Who doesn't have an opinion about that? Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Walking the Blunt Blade. I am Oliver. In my life, humble 51 years, I have seen more aggression and violence, manipulation, intimidation, and the darker side of human nature than I could possibly ever hope to drink away. I greatly dislike violence. I hate war. Now, I've never been to war, but I think it's the way I grew up with a grandfather that was in the war. I hate bullying, the abuse of power. And before I go on and I'm misunderstood, God forbid, I am not a union person, nor am I a terrorist person. I believe these two people exist to point out there's something wrong with the world. I do not encourage or endorse the way they behave and get their messages across, because there's a severe hurting of innocent lives in both cases, and even death. So just so we're clear, I'm not a supporter of unions or terrorism. However, they do have a place in life. Now that we got that out of the way, because often I hear people say, oh, you're a terrorist, especially with 9/11. I think I was the first person in the world to say there's something wrong, there's a reason that happened. Of course there was. And I was also the first person in the world to say if Bruce Willis were working at the airport that day, none of that shit would have gone down. Anyway, now that we're clear, what happened in Israel with the terrorist attack was absolutely atrocious, disgusting. We need to understand what's happening in the Middle East has been ongoing for a long time. I'm not even talking 50, 80 years. It's been ongoing for longer. Now, as the world watches what's going on, my biggest fear is always the loss of life and the overreaction. So Israel kind of beating its chest, much like the States did, is threatening, and from what I've seen already started their retaliation, which is a massive overreaction. America overreacted with 9/11, it overreacted with Saddam, and it overreacted in World War II with Pearl Harbor. We need to understand that politicians are very good at dividing people. They're very good at getting people's emotions running. Now, my viewpoint is simply this, and I've been asked by someone what my viewpoint is, given I have a German heritage. Am I anti-Jewish? No. What do they call it? Anti-Semitic? Whatever. Not at all. I've had lots of Jewish friends in my life. But going forward, it is my greatest wish that Germany not get involved in any way whatsoever, for it's not their problem. Matter of fact, it's no one's problem per se. Israel is big enough, old enough, ugly enough, and rich enough to look after itself. America should definitely not be getting involved, and if they do, as they've already threatened, then it's because it's more third world countries that we can contribute war to and with. Whereas, Russia's too big a problem, we'll just let Russia go. If people get involved with Palestine and Israel, all it's doing is causing further corruption for governments to play games and find treaties to further their disgusting plans of land grabbing, oil grabbing, etc. Now, you gotta love the English, because the English have pretty much wiped out and tried to conquer most parts of the world, yeah? So we can't forget that London was the most bombed city and terrorized city in the world because of the IRA for a very long time. And Ireland and Scotland obviously were subdued. We can't forget England was in India, to the point where an Indian met with Hitler to say, please help us get the English out of the country. True story. We can't forget that England wiped out, indigenous species, Aboriginals, American Indians, etc. So in England and its, quest for land and power and wealth, if I remember correctly, also made deals with certain parties before World War I was even over. Some of those parties being the Jews and the Palestinians and other Arab nations. Then in true cowardly style, England reneged and even got out of the area, leaving people to their own devices. Now again, I don't accept aggression and violence as being the best forms of communication. We've got to understand that the Palestinians have been harassed and bullied, and I'm not trying to make light of that. I guess the reason I giggle is because of people's short attention spans. They've been subjected to a lot by the Jewish community, and let's not forget that the Jewish community kind of invaded their land. So if we look back on history, and I'm not the world's biggest history buff, though it does interest me, and it interests me because there are so many parts of history. It's one thing to easily gloss over it in, a quick Walking the Blunt Blade or even an hour's documentary. There are so many facets and little parts to history that really need to be accounted for and taken into consideration, which I certainly don't have the time to do. I think it's fair to say at this rate that although the terrorist attack was wrong and unspeakably disgusting, there's something going on, and it's been going on for a long time. And rather than overreacting and causing loss of even more innocent lives, I think Israel needs to step back and think about how they treat people, and then maybe even reflect on the Second World War and, find a correlation maybe between the way they were treated and how they treat people. That's my humble thought for this morning. Good morning, everybody.